Hey everybody, this is Justin Brock with Bobby Brock Insurance, and today I'm going to go briefly over Part D. We've probably covered it several times in the past, but there are some changes, and we're going to go over the term PDP, or Prescription Drug Plan. Okay, so stay tuned, check it out. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please hit subscribe, turn on notifications, or like the video, or all three. That really helps us, and it'll help you get videos that we put out right away when they come out, so you'll be notified. All right, so Part D is simply the drug coverage or prescription coverage portion of Medicare. And there are a couple of ways that you can get Part D built into your Medicare plan. If you have certain types of Medicare Advantage plans, many Medicare Advantage plans have a PDP or prescription drug portion of it built into it. So those would be called Medicare Advantage prescription drug plans, okay? Or MAPD. That's like the full all-in-one inclusive Medicare Advantage prescription drug plan. But a lot of plans, MA only plans, like MSA or PFFS. So that's a lot of Medicare Advantage only plans without that PD portion here. Come like a Medicare savings account or a private fee-for-service plan, come with no drug coverage, but do allow you to buy what's called a stand-alone PDP or prescription drug plan, Part D plan. Those are all administered by private insurance companies, because even though it's a part of Medicare, being Part D, they outsource that to these standalone PDP companies. Most areas, there's somewhere between 20 and 30 of these, okay? So most zip codes or counties have different plans, and you would have, you'd have about, like in where I'm at here, it's about 25 different plans available. So what you would really do is just shop those by putting in your prescription drugs into a formulary or a calculator that searches these formularies to find out which plan is going to cover you best. With the Part D plan, when we do this, normally we use Medicare's calculator. It's probably the best tool in Medicare that actually government Medicare has come out with to help seniors, is their drug plan calculator. Also, if you choose to go the Medicare supplement route or Medigap plan, Medicare supplement or Medigap, with that you would also need a standalone Part D plan or a standalone PDP. So we put your drugs into the calculator on Medicare.gov, which I'm going to make a follow-up video towards the end of this video on. We put them in there, and it would search the formularies and come out with the best ones for us. Now, there are some key terms to be aware of when you're looking at Part D, and this is what gets a lot of people confused, okay? So I'm going to go over those terms really quick. When you're looking at the drug coverage benefit, whether it's attached to a Medicare Advantage plan or it's a standalone plan, there are some things to be wary of. When we put these into Medicare.gov's calculator, they are going to search formularies and tell us which one's going to be the cheapest. But some of the things that slip in people's minds are these key concepts here: prior authorization, step therapy, and quantity limits. Okay, so to explain these really quick, so prior authorization, if you search for the formulary in a graph at the bottom of the page, it says that Flexeril or cyclobenzaprine has a prior authorization requirement. That means that your doctor would have to request a prior authorization. So the doctor would request a prior authorization for your drug, and you have to satisfy the requirements of that plan to get that. Now, when you're searching, if you find that one is showing that that one would cost you the least on that drug, but it has prior authorization, and another would cost you slightly more without prior authorization. It might behoove you to use the one without prior authorization. Another concept is step therapy. So this is like if a doctor wanted to give you a drug A, and he wanted to give you 500 milligrams, but it started at 100 or 200 or 300 first. This plan, if it required step therapy on that specific drug in their formulary, they might require you to try one of these first to work your way up to that amount or that dosage. Okay? The last one is quantity limits. So you might have one that says we will pay for cyclobenzaprine, but we're limiting you to 60 a month or 30 a month or 90 a month or 120 a month, depending on what the drug is and what their limit is. Sometimes that never gets in the way because you don't need that many, but sometimes it does. Now with all of these, there can be exemptions requested. And a lot of times at the beginning of the year, if you have one of these come up, they'll waive it for the first time that you fill it and give you time to make a change or talk to your doctor and try to get it worked out. So those are some very, very key concepts. Other things that you're going to hear when you're looking at your drug coverage. Other things we're going to hear are tiers. Okay, so tiers in a formulary, your drugs are going to fit in a tier 1 through 5. All right, so tier 1 is going to be typically your cheaper generics. Tier 2 would be your more expensive generics. These are a little bit overgeneralizations. Sometimes a brand name might fall into there, but that's typically how it's going to go. Your cheaper brand names will fall into tier 3. Your more expensive brand names will fall into 4, and experimental will be tier 5. And again, that's a generalization that can be kind of a maneuverable target or a moving target, but that's how the tiers would typically work. Now, another term that you're going to hear on a drug plan is you might have a deductible. Now, sometimes a plan with a deductible is better for you than a plan without it. So let's say you're taking lisinopril and hydrochlorothiazide and let's see, levothyroxine, however you, levothyroxine, okay? These are all probably going to be tier 1. And so if you get in a drug plan A, and that's just a generic name, it's not what they're really called, I'm just not going to use the company name. But if you use drug plan A and it has a $435 deductible, which for 2020 is the max the deductible can be, but that deductible only applies to tier 3 plus. So it only applies to tiers 3 and higher, okay? So you get on these 3 tier 1s and that's all you're taking, all of a sudden your copays may be 0 at a preferred pharmacy or a mail order for all of those. And that plan might cost $13.20. Okay, so you got $13.20, 0 cost for your drugs. And then your alternative to avoid a deductible may be $60 a month and charge you $1 for each of those drugs. And while that's all you're taking, you're not really coming out any better. So with drug plans, it's kind of like preparing for what you have right now with the idea that you know you have some catastrophic cost built into, or catastrophic coverage built into the drug plan. So I hope that makes a little bit of sense on there on the deductible. The last little part I'll talk about, and I'm just going to generalize this, is the donut hole. The donut hole. So with the different levels of drug coverage, you have your deductible, if any. Okay, so this is the amount you're going to pay for a drug until your deductible's met. All right, so a lot of times with tier 1, this is still going to be 0. Okay, but if you had a tier 3 on here, you might end up having to pay the full cost of it until you met your, $435 deductible. All right, so we're going to go to the next tier level, and you have initial coverage period. Initial coverage means this is once the deductible is satisfied, if you had to satisfy it, what is your copay? So if we're looking at lisinopril, and then we'll do one that's a little more expensive, maybe bisoprolol. So let's say bisoprolol is a tier 2, you might end up paying $5 for that one, and this one for 0, and then maybe you have Janumet, and it's $25 or $40 or whatever it is. Then you have the donut hole, which they call the coverage gap. Coverage gap. Okay, so during this period, the only way to get to this period is if you spend over a certain amount. And so once not you spend, I'm sorry, backtrack. If your total MSRP cost of your drugs are over a certain amount, so whether the plan pays it, you pay it, or just the total cost, when they get to a certain amount, you go into the donut hole and your copays can go up. On a drug like lisinopril, probably still going to stay low or to nothing. This one here, bisoprolol, may come down. It may go down to $250. But a drug like Janumet in that donut hole is probably going to go up to 25% of the cost of that drug, depending on where it falls in the formulary. But with that one, so let's say it's a $200 drug, so now you're going to pay $50 for it because you're going to pay 25% of the cost. As we leave that, you have catastrophic. Okay, catastrophic is when you get through the donut hole after your total cost has hit another barrier. You get into the catastrophic, and they're paying 95%. You're paying 5% of the cost of the drug. Okay, so that's just the very generalized way to explain how that drug coverage works. So drug coverage is probably one of the more confusing concepts. A lot of people do pick their own drug plan, but they miss one of these. They miss step therapy or prior authorization. They miss the catastrophic phase, the donut hole. They miss something here. They put the wrong dosage in. So we do recommend that you actually use a professional to do this. You can go over to BobbyBrockInsurance.com, or you can call us at 662-844-3300. We'd be happy to help you with it, and we can hopefully alleviate any potential confusion down the road. So if you have any questions about this, please head over there at BobbyBrockInsurance.com, and please like the video, subscribe, and leave us a comment below if it helped you. Thanks, guys. Talk to you soon.